Hi there, it's Susan from SG Development Solutions. Over the next few minutes, I'd like to just share some thoughts with you on the ideas of taking risks and pushing boundaries. And the reason for that is the other day I had a conversation with a financial advisor and he asked me a question that really got me thinking. He asked what my attitude to risk is. Now obviously he was asking in relation to money and investments and savings and how much I was prepared to invest in something high risk with the potential I might lose my money. But his question really got me thinking about risk in other aspects of our lives. Now risk is defined as exposure to the chance of loss or injury, and I guess we could describe that as the extent to which we consciously and willingly put ourselves in a situation where we might lose something or we might be injured. Now in psychology terms, one of the biggest motivators of our behaviour is fear of loss. When we fear losing something, it makes us behave in some really strange ways. Now, I read about a guy who was on a stag do with his friends, and one of the activities that was arranged was a bungee jump. Now, this guy was terrified of heights. He was almost passing out with fear just thinking about jumping off this bridge into a ravine. But he made the jump. Why? Because there was a different fear that was driving his behaviour, a different fear that had a bigger pull over him than the fear of what might happen when he jumped off that bridge. And it was the fear of loss of face. He didn't want to lose face in front of his friends. He was going to be the only person who didn't do the jump. And that fear, the fear of that particular loss, was more of a motivator for his behaviour. Bizarre. The flip side of that is it's not always fear of loss that motivates us. Sometimes it is the potential gain that we might get as a result of taking that particular risk. So for example, you're watching your favourite team playing sport at the weekend and one of the players at a really crucial moment in the game makes a split-second decision to make a risky move, and you're sitting there with your hands behind in front of your face thinking, oh God, is it going to pay off? And the thing at that situation is that player's motivation is about what they might gain, what the potential returns might be of taking that risk. And if it's done in the right way at the right time, the potential gains can be huge, so they might win the game. So how much of a risk taker are you? To what extent are you prepared to, or to what are you prepared to do to avoid loss of something important to you, or to gain something that's important that you desire? In your current role, how much of a risk taker are you? Now, you might be in a role that is quite heavily constrained by legislation and processes, and you're maybe actively discouraged from taking risk, or you might be in a job where taking risks actually is a part of your everyday role. Regardless of the rules or absence of rules about taking risk, we all have opportunities every day to push boundaries. Push boundaries, take a risk, to get potentially high returns from that. So let me just encourage you to think about that for a moment. What are some of the aspects of your job that really frustrate you? What are some of the situations that really make you mad, or the situations where you just think, if I could only do this, it would just make things better? Who are the people that you feel have more potential? They're just not fulfilling their potential. What are the situations, what are the processes that you can see going on around you that you feel if you were to do something slightly different, push the boundaries, the benefits could be huge? Those are the kind of opportunities that you have to make a positive difference, to take a risk, a calculated risk, push the boundaries, do something new and really make a massive difference. So how willing are you to be courageous, be bold and take some action? Now, something I've noticed in many of my clients is the word courageous being used. More and more of them are adding the word courageous to their list of values or desired behaviours. And I think that's fantastic, because what they're saying to their staff is, we know we don't have all the answers. We know that we could do things differently, and we want you to start challenging us. Be courageous, challenge the status quo, challenge the people that are getting in the way of you being able to deliver your best. Isn't that fantastic? However, I'm also noticing that often those are words on a poster, a mission statement or in a handbook, and they sometimes don't translate into actual behaviour. Why is that? Why would people not take that opportunity that's been given to them by their employer to be courageous, be bold and take risks? Fear. It comes back to fear. People fear what the consequences might be, what they might lose if they take that risk, especially if they take that risk and it doesn't pay off. And I've heard people saying, oh, they just want us to come in and do our job. You don't want to stick your head above the parapet. Oh, I've seen what happens when people speak out. Now, whether those potential outcomes or consequences are true or not, what they do is they influence your behaviour. They activate your fear response. And as a result, you tend to feel it's safer to just blend back into the crowd and follow what has already been set down before you. Follow what other people are doing. So those are some of the things that motivate us, and those are some of the situations we find ourselves in. We may want to be courageous, but there may be that fear of loss of what might happen if we take that risk gets in the way. But coming back to the financial advisor, what he said was, Susan, if you're never prepared to take a risk with your money, you're only ever going to have a modest return. If you're prepared to take even a proportion of your money and invest that in a higher risk strategy, the returns could be huge. So actually taking that risk sometimes, stepping out from the crowd, stepping away from the norm, actually could net you quite significant gains for you, for your own reputation, for the job you do, and ultimately for your organisation. And if you take a calculated risk and it pays off, I can guarantee that people will be singing your praises. So some questions to ask yourself when you enter into thinking about making this calculated risk and pushing these boundaries is, can you afford for it to go wrong? How can you manage the situation if when you take the risk it doesn't give you the outcome you expect straight away? And weighing up, balancing the potential consequences of not taking action versus the potential gain of taking action, which of those has the strongest pull for you? So just remember, when you're thinking about opportunities to push boundaries and take risks, just remember that if people before you had never pushed the boundaries, we wouldn't have all the life-saving drugs we've got. We wouldn't have the internet. We wouldn't have international aviation, to name but 3 things. So go on, become the next pioneer of something great. Go ahead, be courageous, be bold, and push the boundaries, because that's when you're going to get the high returns. So good luck.